So this is something that I talked about in my live streams when it comes to the Jirard the Completionist controversy with the open hand charity and everything. And I wasn't really going to make too many videos about it. And I haven't made any dedicated videos. I've just talked about it in live streams, but I felt the need to actually talk about it at this point because we've gotten new information and audio that is leaked. And I think that it's very important, especially for all of us in the content creator space. And now that I hear more people trying to lump in all Nintendo content creators together and defenders and whatnot, I wanted to make sure that I made my position very clear on this because this is something that I take very seriously when it comes to charity work or when it comes to making sure that if something is being donated for charity, it goes to the right spot. Now, I don't mention all this stuff whenever I do donate to charity. I like to donate to NAMI. That's the charity that I go to after the whole situation with Etika happened for mental health, but I don't really say anything. You just go do what you got to do, right? And you help out when you can. But when it comes down to this, it seems like it's spreading and people are kind of taking sides one way or another. So what I want to do here for my audience is kind of give my take on this and kind of where I am when it comes down to it. And we're going to go over some information as well for those who don't know. So we're going to recap everything. So essentially, this is it. There is a big YouTuber. His name is The Completionist. He has over 1 million subscribers. He's been on Nintendo's, front page for videos. He's been everywhere. He has tons of sponsors. He has a lot of stuff that he's done over the years. And he's ran this charity called the Open Hand Foundation. And this was essentially in his mom's name because his mom had frontal lobe dementia. Don't quote me on exactly what it is, but essentially it is mental illness, dementia, and she actually passed away from it a decade or so ago, more than a decade ago. And for the past 10 years plus, the completionist Jirard has been running the Open Hand Foundation or has been taking donations from that in his mom's name. Many of the donations and fundraisers that he would do would be through a thing that he called Indie Land, where they'd promote indie games and people would donate and it would all go to charity according to what Jirard would have to say.
And that's why we're here today. Bits, donations, subs, buy the shirt, buy the coin, buy indie games, all that stuff. All of it is going to the benefit of helping others for this charity event. So thank you for joining us.
Now, recently there was two content creators named Mutahar from SomeOrdinaryGamers and Karl Jobst who looked into the public tax returns, the charity's tax returns for the Open Hand, and they saw that they haven't actually donated the money. The money was just sitting there, over $600,000 just sitting there in the account. Whereas if you look at all the different videos and stuff that the completionist has done, he's actually saying, hey, the money is being donated to help dementia. It's being donated every single year. He's been saying that. So there's definitely a discrepancy there from him saying publicly the money's being donated and it's helping people compared to it actually just sitting in an account, actually depreciating in value because of inflation. Now, Karl and Muta both made videos on this topic, and they even gave Jirard the Completionist a chance to respond when it comes to a Discord call before they made those videos. So snippets of that Discord call were in the original videos. Jirard the Completionist claimed that he knew at least a year or two ago, before right now at this point, at least a year or two ago, that the money had not been moved yet. And he found out about it and he's like, that's not cool.
You weren't notified that the money was sitting there the whole time?
I knew it was sitting there at a certain point, and that's what made me proactively go about it. Like, I was made aware in 2021 when the money hadn't moved yet, and that's what made me go, that's not cool. And that's when I got personally involved to move it. And
did anyone
2021 last year, 2022?
Yeah, did anyone tell you that the money was going somewhere before then? Were you being misled?
No. No one told me anything. I assumed that it was all going to a charity, and I assumed incorrectly.
That's not effing cool, and he got mad about it. But even though he knew over a year or so ago, he still didn't move the money. And even as recently as this year, multiple times, he was still telling people that the money is being donated to these different organizations, and they're working with these different organizations and donating when they actually weren't doing any of that. They were not donating any of the money to those different charities. Now, we did get an update that they did eventually end up donating about $600,000, which is definitely good. But the problem, once again, is that the money has depreciated in value over the long time that it's just been sitting there in an account. And it's not like it's a high interest yield account or anything like that. So it's not like they're earning 5% every single month or something. So it just ended up just sitting there, and inflation is taking a hold of that. Remember, this was supposed to be going, whatever Jirard had these events, they're supposed to be going to help patients. That money needs to be donated to be helping people actively, not sitting in an account waiting 10 years now being donated. There could have been people that passed away, or people that really needed that help or that money, or whatever the case was, resources to help them get over it. And that was not happening, despite everyone thinking that's where their money was going over the number of years now at this point. Now, Jirard, once again, has been telling people about, hey, look, we've been donating it, and none of that was happening. And he would also constantly claim that all of the Twitch subs and bits and super chats and revenue would go to charity. On top of just the direct donations they were getting, all of that other revenue would be going to charity when it comes down to it. It's all being donated. They're not touching any of it. However, in his video titled My Response, he ended up saying, oh, well, no, these events have administration costs for flying people out and hotels and food and different things. That is definitely a contradiction or a flat out lie, because he was saying on air, on stream, that it's all going there. But now he's saying, oh, well, some of that money is going to funding all this. That's a problem when you're telling people that all the money does go to charity. Now, there's also this open hand golf tournament that Jirard and his family would do as well, which would get some pretty big sponsors like Coca-Cola and Monster and other big companies that would spend tens of thousands of dollars or thousands of dollars to have different ads that would be plastered on golf carts and on signs and have booths and sell drinks and all this different stuff. And it seems like that money is just flat out missing. We don't have receipts, and we don't know where exactly that money is. And Jirard has tried to distance himself from that golf tournament and what's going on there. But we still, at this point, don't have receipts for everything that was at the golf tournament. So that's definitely interesting. But they've tried to say, oh, well, there's administrative costs, there's buildings, there's things that they have to pay for. But we haven't seen where that money actually is when it comes down to receipts. Now, in a response to Jirard's response video to what Karl and Muda originally did, Karl and Muda did put out other videos that not only disputes a lot of Jirard's My Response video, but further buries Jirard pretty negatively with new audio from their discussion and direct examples of issues with Jirard's response. Now, on top of that, more audio has been leaked or released from Karl and Muda's Discord conversation with the completionist Jirard, and it's not looking good. Now, before we get into this leaked audio, guys, Jirard sounds like a complete broken man, and he knows that it's kind of like all over. What makes the audio even more jarring or interesting to me is that Jirard is very defiant in his My Response video, threatening to sue Karl and Muda and just sounding as if these people are being super malicious without even giving him an opportunity, although he got that opportunity. And in the video, in this audio that you guys are going to hear, it sounds like he's almost kind of begging them like, hey, I know what you guys do. This is a problem. Like, what's going on here? You know, anything that I can do. So the fact that he had that tone with them afterwards in his video is very, very weird to me. But I'm going to let you guys hear it, and then we can talk about it afterwards.
The last thing I want to do is ruin the legacy of my family, of my mom and her memory, especially because this is such a personal thing for the last 25 years of my life. You know, I'm not trying to be like, do you guys want money to help me hide this? It's not what this is at all. I'm just asking from a humanity perspective of like, if I am the target of this, I have 20 mouths to feed. I have sponsors. I have a business. I'm trying to make video games. I'm trying to get out of content creation so I don't have to worry about YouTube anymore and do better things in the world. And I just know, because of my track record of things like G4 exploding, me being friends with JonTron when he was a racist, you know, I've been a part of like, you know, pro Jared, like pulling one thread about the charity thing is going to upheave my entire life in a way that scares the living crap out of me. And I don't want to go home tonight and tell everyone, hey, there is a gigantic thing coming to claim my career and you all have to close down and find somewhere else to do. I know this is shitty me to say this. I'm not trying to ask for sympathy or anything, but this kind of stuff I mean, I've been following your guys' stuff for years. The stuff with Billy Mitchell, Carl, the stuff that you've done, Muto, with tons of content creators over the years. Like, there's no nuance to this. People are going to see this, and they're going to immediately go, that Jirard guy who's been nice to a bunch of people actually isn't very nice overall. Him, let's get rid of him. And
so as you guys can hear there, clearly he knows that there's an issue. Clearly there's a problem there. And you can tell in his voice, the pitch. You know, I do communication. I was a communication major in college. And I just know that is the pitch, the tone, the slight in his voice. That is the tone of someone that is broken at this point and that is really worried for his own future, really worried based off of what's happening because he knows what he's up against, which makes it just crazy to me that one, yes, he admitted himself that he took too long when it comes to the donation of the funds, that he made a mistake. He admitted essentially he said one thing and didn't do what he was saying. So that's already right off the back. But then to threaten legal stuff when you've already spoke like this to them, but then threaten legal, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Saying that we are fraudsters, that what we are doing is illegal and constitutes charity fraud, that we are using my dead mother's name to potentially embezzle money and steal is categorically false. I should have been more transparent about the money not being donated, and that's on me. But my family and I have not done anything illegal, not before then and not since. And as mentioned previously, we have correspondence from the IRS to prove that. Furthermore, my family and I are in serious conversations with our legal teams regarding next steps, as the allegations that have been made with complete disregard for the truth of the matter. These allegations were made by individuals who self-admittedly aren't even financial or legal professionals. These allegations are slanderous, and we believe we're done with selfish intent. They have directly jeopardized the safety of me, my staff, and my family, and that is not okay.
That you wouldn't, you know what, just say, all right, take the L, man up, take the L, admit you were wrong, and simply say, this is what I'm going to do going forward. And yes, there are going to be a bunch of people that drop off. There are going to be a bunch of people that say different things. And I absolutely think that, yeah, that's going to come to him, and it is coming to him. But at the same time, to sit there and have the response that he did, where a lot of the information wasn't even actual information that was pertinent to what was going on, the fact that the money wasn't donated, the fact that he was telling people that, hey, this is where the money's going, and it never went there, the fact that there's money missing, or there's a lot of clerical errors, or there's all sorts of issues here and there in terms of the accounting with this whole thing, it just doesn't make sense to me. And I feel that me personally, I'm not on that side. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you say I'm going to run a charity event, if you say that you're going to do that, you need to donate that money within a timely fashion. It needs to be donated so it can go to, one, getting people staff to get these people the help. I mean, you can't just have a charity and nobody actually works there to help the people. You got to staff the people to work there. You got to get people that actually want to be there. You've got to get supplies. You've got to get different things to help people out in the charity. So regardless of how you feel in terms of restrictive or non-restrictive, or if it's going straight to the people there that have it, or the doctors, or whatever the case is, you still need to do that in a timely fashion. You still need to. So I'm not on board at all in terms of this. But from that leaked audio, from everything that I've taken in, because I've watched all the videos, I've watched all of Karl Muta's videos, I've watched everything that the Completionist has said, and I've seen everything in terms of the fans and in terms of his friends and all of the back and forth where people are just butting heads, blocking each other. There's been so many problems with this, and it's sad, and it's definitely sad. I think that at this point, it's going to be hard for Jirard to come back because he had an opportunity. And I think that the opportunity was just really taking the L and saying, you know what, this was a massive mistake and this is what I'm going to do going forward. And we're going to make sure that whenever we do have charity or whenever we do these things, it's going to be donated right away, and I promise that I'm going to make it up. Now, obviously that won't be good enough for many people, but at the same time, it's better than what he's done so far at this point, especially with that response video where he talked way too much, and then he also had the goal to threaten legal action when he's the one who didn't donate the money, which potentially could be seen as charity fraud. According to the evidence that is out there, Karl Jobst's video, in addition to just what consists of charity fraud, what you're saying and what's happening, it could be potentially that. It just doesn't look good. It's not a good look, especially when ultimately at the end of the day, the simplest thing, the simplest explanation is usually the right one. At the end of the day, Jirard is wrong. The completionist is wrong in terms of how he handled this. When he found out about the money not being moved a year or two ago, he should have instantly tried to move the money. Regardless, he should have instantly tried to move the money. I don't know why he let that sit, especially if it's public. If he would have handled it a year or two ago, I'm guessing Muda and Karl would have never even known about this whole situation, and all of those 20 mouths that he has to feed with his business would probably still be intact, or at least he'd be able to explain things a bit better and say, hey, this is the reason why, this is what's happening. But because he waited so long, because he was defiant in terms of what he said, because of so many other things, now people are really digging into everything that he said and what's going on here, it snowballed into this out of control thing. And once again, to the point to where, as you guys hear on that audio, he's broken at this point, and it's going to be hard for him to recover as he bleeds subscribers. Tens of thousands of subscribers are unsubbing to his channel now at this point. Another thing that's not necessarily as big of a deal, but it's still part of this whole story, is that this is starting to reach even further beyond just the scope of the people that we're talking about here with Jirard, Karl Jobst, and Muda. It's gotten to the point where Jirard the Completionist was in a video game, Sea of Stars, one of my favorite games of 2023, the indie game of the year at the Game Awards, and he's been removed. The developers for the game had this to say, quote, "A small patch will be going live on Steam and be submitted to consoles soon to replace the builder NPC in Marith. We arrived at this decision after carefully monitoring events over the past few weeks, and while it is not our place to pass judgment, we do make it a priority to maintain positive and optimistic space that reflects the spirit of our intentions, be they creative or otherwise. As always, we appreciate your support and trust you to respect our decision while keeping the tone of the conversation in line with the essence of what makes our games and our community what they are. Thank you." And as you guys can see here, so yeah, it's definitely not good, and it's very unfortunate. I've never personally had a relationship with the completionist. There was one time that I was around him at an event when I was in Seattle, and he seemed like a super nice guy. Everybody that came up to him and talked to him, he was very nice to them and seemed very friendly. But I had nothing to say to him, so I didn't say anything to him, you know, but I did see him. But that's about it. So, I mean, I don't have any type of way in terms of how I feel about him or not. I didn't watch his content beforehand. I've seen a few videos here and there, but I wasn't like a super fan or even a subscriber to his content, although I respected him in terms of what he was doing with his content on YouTube. So that's my take on this, guys. At the end of the day, it was wrong what he did. And regardless of how you feel about Karl or Muda or how they go about their business, they simply were just doing what they felt was right, and of course their job. And at the end of the day, Jirard the Completionist is dead wrong in terms of how he handled this situation before, during, and after all of this. So what do you guys think about the Completionist and Jirard? What's your thoughts on the charity stuff? How do you guys feel about everything? Were there any big fans of Jirard the Completionist? Are some of you guys still going to watch his content if he does more? What do you think is going to happen in the future? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.